Hello and welcome back to Alexandria Loves Books. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Alexandria, and if you couldn't tell, I love books. It is time for our October wrap-up because October is over. So let's see, there were 8 books on my October TBR if you want to go watch that TBR video. I read 5 books on that TBR and I DNF'd one of them. And I'll put the genre breakdown here on the screen so you can see, but I read 2 romance, which I feel like is low for me. Romance is my top genre. I feel like I normally read more than 2, but 2 romance, 2 fantasy, 1 mystery thriller, 1 historical fiction, and 2 nonfiction, specifically Christian nonfiction. Before we get into the wrap up and each book that I read and my thoughts on them, I first want to tell you about the LA Walk and Roll to Cure ALS. I will be participating in this walk on December 8th, so just a little bit over a month. I'm doing this walk in honor of my stepdad who passed away in 2021 from ALS. He fought this disease for 5 years, but this disease has no known cause, no treatment, and no cure. So the ALS community really needs our help. So if you are in a place to donate or even just share my fundraising page, it would mean the world to me if you would click the link down below. Even if you just donate like $5, $10, a little bit helps, it all adds up. My goal is to raise $1,000 and we have a long way to go to get there. So please share my link and my story with your friends and family on social media. Get the word out there. Share about just the LA ALS walk in general, and just get the word out there so that we can help people get the care they need and find a cure. So starting off, the next few books are in my random number page generator video. Don't think that's exactly how I called it, but that's what my notes say. But the random number generator chooses how many pages I read each day. And I started off that video reading Consider Me by Becca Mack. I love this book. I love this book. This is the first book in the Playing for Keeps series, and it's NHL hockey romance, our favorite. Carter Beckett, he's a hockey player, he's a player, he gets around, he doesn't do commitment, okay? He just does a quick good time and not a long time, if you catch my drift. Got it? He meets Olivia through a mutual friend, and immediately he's like, I want her, she's mine. I'm flattered as if I am Olivia, but when I read it, I am Olivia, so. Olivia wants nothing to do with him. She is over players, hockey players, and she's not about it. She's not interested. But he knows what he wants, and he's gonna go after it, and that he does. This is like the cliche trope of reformed playboy changes his entire ways for her, the one, and he is obsessed with her. He loves her. He is so dedicated to her. He's obsessive, a little bit possessive and protective, and I love it all. I eat it up every time. I don't care how cliche it is. I don't care how many books I read that are like this. I am going to love it and eat it up every time, and I did with this one as well. I rated this 4.75 stars. The only reason it wasn't a 5-star is because it was too spicy for me. Especially, I think they brought the physical stuff into their relationship early on, which I get, but also it's not my preference, and it just was a lot. It definitely could be a little bit shorter. There was a huge portion where they were happy, which I love reading about. I know some people are like, if the couple's happy, I'm bored. So fair, so real, I get you, because even I got to a point where I was like, okay, what's the plot anymore? And eventually it picked back up. But during that time, especially of them just being happy, I loved reading about them being happy, but it was so much spice, so much. So that's my only thing with it, but I love their love. They are soulmates. I love them so much. Carter Beckett is a book husband. He truly encapsulates all 5 love languages. If you're a physical touch person, he's got you. If you're an acts of service person, he's got you. If you're a gift giving person, he's got you. If you're a quality time person, he's got you. And if you're a words of affirmation person, he's got you. The pet names, if a man calls me all these pet names that Carter calls Olivia, I'm melting. I'm yours. The next book I read, which was also in that video, was Heart of the Raven Prince by Tessania Odette. This is the second book in the Entangled with Fae series. I have not read the first one. They do not have to be read in order, but I definitely want to go back and read that one. This one I read first because this is a Cinderella retelling. Each one is a retelling of a different like classic fairy tale. And Cinderella has always been my favorite since I was a little girl. So I definitely gravitated towards this one first, but I do want to read the others. This follows Ember. She is half fae, and she's our Cinderella, if you will. You know, she's with her stepmother and stepsisters and scrubbing away and being their servant and maid, basically. And she's like in this contract with them that she has to help them until she's a certain age. And Prince Franco, he's also fae, and he needs to get married to a princess because of certain like political royalty rules situation that's going on. And so Franco and Ember cross paths. And there's some magic in this world that makes it so that she is disguising herself as a princess that is courting the prince. I rated this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I loved their love. I wasn't like obsessed with it, but I still had a really good time throughout all of it. It had so many different like twists and turns, and I really enjoyed the magic of it all. And I enjoyed there was like an enemies to lovers situation a little bit. And even though like Cinderella is a very predictable story, this book kept me on the edge of my seat because of like the high stakes and all the craziness that was going on. It didn't stick out like too much to me, that's why it's only a 4 star, but I did really enjoy it still. Next, we have a random book. This was not in a video. This is a Catholic devotional called Loving God, Loving Others by like Blessed Is She. It's a group of like 6 or 8 or so women. It's 52 devotions that you do 1 a week, so it's supposed to take a year to like complete. It took me 2 years. I was given this 2 Christmases ago, and I'm so bad at reading devotionals. Also, I didn't really enjoy this because I'm not Catholic, but the person that got it for me didn't know that it was Catholic when they got it for me. I'm non-denominational Christian, so I mean a lot of it still did apply to me, but there was still a lot that I was like, oh, that's not, like this doesn't connect to me. I'm honestly just happy that I got through it. I just kept reading it because I wanted to finish it. Because if any of you have seen my Goodreads for the past 2 years, this has just been my currently reading for 2 years. So I'm very happy that it's read and done. Which, did I say my rating? I rated it 2 stars. If you watched my spooky book sleepover vlog, you would have seen me read Apprentice to the Villain. This is the second book in the Assistant to the Villain series. There was a cliffhanger at the end of the first book, and this one picks up basically right where we left off. So I can't say too much without spoiling the first book. But this follows Evie and the villain. We met them both in the first book. Evie came across the villain in the woods, and he ended up hiring her as his assistant. And it's very like camp, I'd say, this series. It's very just like silly, goofy. It's comedic, but there's still high stakes. It's like cozy fantasy with high stakes. And very, 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 very slow burn romance. Too much of a slow burn, if you ask me. They are on this journey to fight a fight. And it's like good versus evil. And of course the villain is evil, but reading the books, you know who's like actually the one in the wrong and who's fighting for the good, you know? Great book for spooky season, so I'm glad I read it in October. I read the first book last October too. I'll probably read the 3rd book next October as well. I rated this 3 stars. I enjoyed it for what it was, but at the same time, this book really lacked a lot for me. It lacked emotional depth for sure, especially like in the romance. Oh, they bugged me so much. It's kind of like, I wouldn't say like the miscommunication trope, but they're not communicating their feelings and they're just shoving their feelings down, and it's really annoying and frustrating because we're 2 books in and they're still doing it. And it just feels very repetitive. Like we're past the fun tension, will they, won't they. There's not even tension, I don't feel like. I mean, there's a little, but not really. It's so frustrating. I'm honestly kind of over it. I'm glad I have a year to like remove myself from the frustration to then be ready for the next book, to be honest. The magic system, I think, is all over the place. It doesn't seem like established or solid. It feels like almost every new like adventure or riddle puzzle solving situation, it's like, oh, we're gonna randomly create this new aspect of the magic that we've never known about before. It doesn't connect to anything else that we've known before. It just feels like we're just like throwing sugar honey icing at the wall and seeing what sticks, but really none of it like makes sense or goes together at all, and it's just really confusing. It doesn't feel like established. I feel really bad because I don't want to be like hating on this book because it's not a bad book, it's just not a great book. It was very fun for what it was, and I think it was a great vibe for the spooky season, but it could have been a lot better. Then moving on to my Color Wheel Chooses My Reads for a Week vlog. Started off with The Only One Left by Riley Sager. This is our mystery thriller for the month. So in the 1920s, Lenora's entire family, her parents and her sister, are unalived. Lenora is the only one left, and everyone thinks it's her, but they can't find any proof that it is her, or that it was her, or that it wasn't her, so they can't arrest her or anything. They just kind of let her go because they can't do anything. They have no proof that she's innocent or guilty. In the 1980s, so now she's in her 60s or 70s, 60s, I don't know, around that age range, and Kit comes to be her caregiver and take care of her because she has a lot of health issues. She is mostly paralyzed except for like her left hand and like the left side of her face, and she can't communicate. She's had strokes, and she can only communicate by typing on a typewriter with like one finger at a time. And she decides to tell Kit the truth of what happened that night. I rated this book 5 stars. I think this might have been my only 5 stars. Yep, yeah, wow. This book was so good. It was such an unexpected surprise. I did not expect to love it so much. It had so many plot twists, and I love plot twists, especially like the first half of a mystery thriller. I'm bored almost all of the time because we're getting all of like the background, we're learning about the situation, and then the author will throw in some plot twists. Not Riley Sager. Right away, we're in it, okay? And creepy things are happening, and questions are arising, and all these crazy things are happening, and it blew my mind. It was so much fun to read. It was such an enjoyable read. I kept having theories about it, but then I kept being wrong, and that was so great to be wrong and then be so surprised about what it like really is and what really happened and what's really going on. It was wild, and I loved it so much. Also, I've never been this emotionally attached to characters in a mystery thriller before. I literally cried after finishing this book because of how much I care for the characters. Like reading the last page, I was just crying for those people because I just want the best for them because I love them so much, and I care for them a lot. Then they've been through a lot. So I highly recommend this book. I've only read this and The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager, but he's definitely like a top author for me. I really need to read more of his books. I cannot recommend him enough. And then one night, while I was filming like that color wheel video, but it wasn't a part of the video, it was just like me having my quiet time with Jesus, I picked up a little Christian booklet by Eric Gilmore. This one's called Quieting Love. I've read 4 of these little booklets before. They're literally so short. They're 15 pages. This is how long the booklet is. All of this is just pages for notes, but really just 15 pages of the actual booklet, and it's like one-sided. So these are very short and very quick. This one is about our soul and resting in God and finding rest in Him. I really enjoy reading these. I think they have so much wisdom, and they just like open my eyes and like soften my heart, and they really make me feel closer to Jesus when I read them, and I just feel really aligned spiritually. So I really recommend these booklets. They have brought me to tears many times before, and they're just like 20 pages. They're great. What did I rate this? 4 stars. The only thing that I didn't love about this is because this one is definitely a shorter one, and I wanted it to be a little longer, and I wanted it to go a little deeper because I really liked what it gave in those 15 pages, but I just wanted more because of how much I enjoyed it, you know? Next book in that video, The Song of Achilles. I finally read this book. Finally, I've had this on my TBR cart for so long. So this was the historical fiction book that I read this month. This is Greek mythology, Achilles and Patroclus. Patroclus, I've heard it said many different ways. Patroclus is a prince who is exiled as a child to this other kingdom where Achilles is the prince, and they cross paths, and Patroclus becomes Achilles' sworn companion. So they're basically like best friends. They spend every day together, every day, every night. They are 2 peas in a pod, okay? They are besties. And as they grow up, feelings emerge, which is very wholesome. Achilles is half god. His mother is a sea nymph? I don't know. She's a goddess of the sea. I don't fully get the Greek mythology stuff. And he is prophesied to be like the greatest warrior of their generation. So he is training his entire life for battle. And then this follows the Trojan War. So these characters, they know what the prophecies are. They know what the gods say is going to happen. They know that there's a fate destined for them, but they try to fight it anyway. and this is a tragedy. So I'm sure you can kind of see or guess where this book ends up and where it takes us, even if you don't know Greek mythology or the plays about these characters or read any other books about these characters. I think it's kind of obvious kind of where the story takes us. This book, it did make me cry. It was very upsetting and sad. I didn't feel as connected as other people do to these characters, and so I feel like I didn't cry as much as other people. And I think that's because like the writing, I feel like we don't get the, I don't know, I feel like we don't emotionally know the characters that well, or at least I didn't. And I think the writing style, it's very beautiful, and I can tell it's very like, I'd say it's very artistic writing. And I think someone who is more in tune with that stuff would feel more connected. Like me, I need things to be more clear and not always like subtle, because otherwise like I'm not connecting to it. But that's just me, you know, we all have different tastes and connect to writing differently. This book also made me really frustrated with men, because men suck and their pride and their ego is stupid. And if they can just let go of their pride, none of this would have happened. Men are stupid sometimes, okay? Women can be too, but this type of pride, stupid. You could have saved yourself so much heartache and pain if you just let go of your pride and have been the bigger person. Like, I get that's kind of like the point of the story. A lot of Greek mythology stuff has to do with like fate and pride and ego and stuff, so I get like that's the whole point. But I really don't like heartbreaking stuff and sad stuff when it could have so easily been avoided. And then the last book that I read in the color wheel video, and the last book I completed this month, was Terms and Conditions by Lauren Asher. This is the second book in the Dreamland Billionaire series. I have had this book on my TBR for so long. I read the first book in January. It took me like 9-10 months to read the second book. What is up with that? Why did I do that? I don't know. I'm glad that I read it. I have the third book on its way to me, and I'm gonna finish the series. So this follows Declan and Iris. Declan, in order to get his inheritance with Dreamland, which is basically like Disneyland, he needs to get married and have a child. So Iris is his assistant. They've been working together for like 3 years, and she tries to set up like a business arrangement with a woman, and it just keeps not working out. So eventually she has to step in and is like, okay, I guess I'm doing it, and I'm gonna be your bride and the mother of your child, and I guess this is what we're doing. And so they do that, and of course feelings happen. It's like fake marriage, but like they literally legally are married. I rated this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I didn't like love and obsess over it, but I still loved it. And I didn't love it, but I loved it. Make that make sense. I don't know. I wasn't like obsessed love. I was, oh, I enjoyed this love. Does that make sense? There's a difference. Declan became obsessed, and I love my men obsessed. I don't want my men any other way. Also, what's crazy is that like these books, they're kind of thick. I don't know how long the fine print is, but this one is 466 pages, and I read both books in one sitting. It was great. It's just so fast paced. It's funny, but still serious, and it's still, you know, you connect to it. Cal is so funny. He's the third book, and I can't wait to read his story. Declan was like a grump, and so like the foil of Declan and Iris, I wouldn't say she's like super sunshiny, but definitely compared to him, like she's like sunshiny, more positive and everything, and so they just have a good dynamic, and it's just like fun and a good time. So I love a good romance, and Lauren Asher really writes good romances. I need to read more by her. So these are all of the books that I read this month. As always, please let me know what books you read this month, what books were your favorite, what book would you recommend that we all read, okay? Let's talk about our favorite books of October, and in general, let's just talk books, okay, in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video, for talking books with me, and for considering donating to my fundraising page for the LA ALS walk. I'm really excited to do this, especially in honor of my stepdad. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!